How to build a strong MBA application? It's a common question which I hear all the time. So I just thought of making a video on it and try to share some of my insights which I also follow during my process when I work with my candidates. So hi everyone, my name is Rohit Jha and I have a corporate experience of around close to 14 years around the world, sometime in US, in New York, sometime in Asia as well, including Hong Kong and India. And after that, I've started my own career consulting firm from the last 6 years. And we have been helping students and professionals to get through various programs, including MBA, Masters, and some other programs as well around the world and India as well. Schools like ISB, IIMs, and there are some other schools where we help students to get through the whole application process. It's an end-to-end consulting process which we follow. Now, let's talk about this video. So, this is a common question, and people are starting their application for the next fall intake. That's why I thought of making this video, and I'll share 5 components. Primarily, I'll talk about 5 major components of your application briefly. Separately, I'll create some more videos in a much more detailed manner on each component. But let's talk about briefly for each component. But before even I talk about those 5 components, you need to be realistic in terms of choosing the right schools. Now, when I say, right schools, it's a very difficult question to answer, and it can only be done, after a thorough profile evaluation of a candidate. But I'll still give you some basic tips. First and foremost, just see your pool, in which pool you belong to. Male, engineer, maybe work experience in consulting, iBanking. If you're a female candidate, if you belong to LGBT community, if you belong to, let's say armed forces, just see in which pool you are, right? And then try and do some research about the schools based on the pool, based on their acceptance. It's very hard to find such data, but you'll get some insights. I'm not saying this is the step which you need to follow, but it will give you a realistic picture, because sometimes, even a 750, 740 may not be enough for you. If you are in a specific pool and let's say your work experience is not supporting that, then you may feel disappointed, after applying and getting rejected by most of the schools. Because the common mindset, which I've seen in India, people have, when they get very high scores, like, 750, 770, so they only aim for Ivy Leagues, M7 schools, irrespective of the rest of the things which they overlook. So, this is the first step. Just make a good selection of schools, apply to as many schools as you want, get the fee waivers, and apply, maximize your chances. That's what I'll say. But yeah, be realistic. But moving on to the next part. So first and important part, I think, is resume. So give ample time to resume for 2 reasons. One, of course, in the whole application process, they thoroughly review your application. Secondly, in most of the school, I would say almost in every school, the interviewer will have your resume only. They don't have your complete application. That's why it makes it much more important as compared to other things also, because this will be used at 2 steps. Now, what to show in the resume? Now, few things which you should highlight in the resume. One, of course, a strong career progression. If, let's say, you have got promoted 3, 4, 5 times, whatever times, show that in your CV. If you've got lateral moves, if you got some other, role changes which are not promotions, but still it's an additional responsibility. So show them as well in terms of your growth, because the school want to see if you're doing great work, how you're moving in the organization. So progression is a very important step. Next is very important, I would say, the leadership experience. So show your leadership experience through, let's say, if you are managing teams directly, perfect. If you're not managing teams directly, if you've managed teams based on projects, that's also perfect. Or maybe if you've mentored people, if you've trained them on various aspects, and if you've genuinely created an impact through your leadership ability, this can be highlighted through your achievements. And maybe you can just use some bold fonts to talk about your leadership experience. That's very important for your CV. Third and very important is the international experience. Now, if you have international experience of going on site, that's great. Even if you have international exposure, like in many industries, you always work with people, from different nationalities. So that's also an international, I would say, exposure. You should highlight that part also in your CV. Next is the awards and high impact projects. So awards are straightforward. Whatever awards you get, whatever appreciation from clients, from your own bosses, or maybe any specific targeted annual awards, spot awards, monthly, quarterly, whatever you get, try to highlight all of them in your CV. And last, impactful projects. When I said impact means just see what are the major business components. For example, are you impacting the revenue directly, cost, people, culture, your processes? What are the changes you brought in the organization? What innovation you did, what efficiency you have improved. So all those things can be reflected through your day-to-day projects and their outcomes. So these are the 5 things which you should focus in your professional journey. Now, education is straightforward. Talk about your college, GPA, and rest of things. If you have any scholarship, do talk about it. Let's say in your undergrad, if you receive some scholarship, do mention that in your CV. Lastly, third section where you talk about your personality, which is your extracurriculars, your leadership initiatives in college, volunteering work, your hobbies, your passion, your interests in life. For example, if you did, let's say, 20 treks, you may have ran, let's say, 50 marathons. Talk about these things. You might have traveled to 20 different countries. Talk about all these things in your CV. Try to show your diversified personality through your resume. A strong work ethic combined with all these things can surely help you, to gain a lot of attention. So this is primarily about the resume, and I will say this is the most important document. So, after essays, focus as much as you can. As I mentioned, the next important is essays. So when they see your journey through your resume, they know you professionally, most of the stuff. Now they want to know you personally in terms of your personal life, your challenges, your growth, your character, your clarity of goals, future plans, your vision in life, and all those things through your essays. So try and reflect all your personal stories through your essays, whatever questions there, and be very candid. See, do not use any tools, any chat GPT or XYZ. They don't want that. Most of the schools, they expect simple, well-written, basic essays, but with strong stories. That is the most important part. So rather than spending time on tools, spend time with yourself. Try to list down everything what you did in your life. Maybe bifurcate your life from early life up to school, then college, then professional journey, and see what are the high points, low points, struggles, challenges. You will get a lot of stories, trust me, if you do this exercise regularly, and all of them will be helpful in the essays. So writing an essay is not at all a challenge if you have thought about it before. So spend more time in brainstorming. If you're working with someone, maybe you can talk to a friend or anyone rather than writing. So if your brainstorming is right, writing will be very easy. So that's what I will say. Spend as much time as you can on your essays. Next, there are some small components. One is recommendations. So I will recommend when you take a recommendation, focus primarily on your immediate supervisor. That is the desirable recommendation, which most schools will, prefer, because the questions are designed in a way where only, I would say, your manager can comment, in a better way. I'm not saying you should not take recommendation not from anyone else, but if you're taking 2, then 1 definitely should be from the manager whom you're reporting to, with whom you have spent some good amount of time. Now, let's say if you have a manager who have just, worked with you for 2-3 months, then maybe you can connect with your previous manager. But try to get that reporting manager on board. That will be great for your application. And second recommendation, if you need, you can take it from your clients. Even if you work for some non-profit, you can pick up a recommendation from there, or anywhere you have a professional relationship. So second one, you can take it from anyone. And if you have 2 managers, let's say if you work for a few years, so that will be great again. And again, focus on the recommendation as well. This is a small component, but it's again speaks a lot about your character. It speaks a lot about your qualities, your leadership skills. So it will add a lot of value. Now, another minor component is video assessment in many schools. So in many schools, you will have some short videos. Some schools will ask for a single video. Some will have a Kira assessment where you'll get multiple videos. Now, don't take them lightly, because this is the first time in the whole process they are looking at you, right? Video gives a lot of, I would say, opportunity to express a lot and to show your personality. So be very candid about it. Don't prepare. Feel free to just prepare some bullet points and speak from your heart. That's what I'll recommend, because they look for people who are very candid with strong communication skills and people who can take impromptu responses. So do that. Do some run through, but again, don't craft your answers. Last component I would say is the interview. After you submit your application, and then you'll have an interview. Again, I'll create a separate video on the interview process, but just to give you a quick gist, again, speak to as many people as you want to from that school, that they will give you a lot of insights about the school, why this school, their culture, their curriculum, their treks, their projects. So you'll get a lot of talking points. So try and reach out to as many people as you can on LinkedIn. Next, I think, focus on your life. As I said earlier, just create what you did for essays, do the same exercise, it will again help you. If you know yourself, because interviews primarily are for culture fit, they again want to see your personality, they again want to hear your stories. Professionally, they've seen it will be a combination. So they will surely go deeper into some of the projects, but they'll also go deeper into your personal life. So have a deep knowledge about yourself. That's what you need to do for the interview preparation. So reach out to the school. Do not craft your answers. Again, I will say, create some bullet points. Try to be candid. Try to be as simple as you can. Be expressive. You don't have to impress them. Just express yourself. Because if you prepare too much, if you write your answers, it will really be a problem for you. So don't do that. That's what I'll recommend for the interview process. And again, as I said, a more detailed video I'll try and create for the interview. So that's it. These are the 5 major components which I will recommend you to completely focus, apart from, of course, choosing the right schools and stuff. In any case, if you need a more detailed thought process about your profile, reach out to me. I'm available everywhere. I'm available on LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp. You can just connect with me, and then we can have a separate chat about your profile, so that I can tell you in a much more detailed way about your prospects of some specific schools depending on the program. In the meantime, if you have more questions, please, you can put them in the comments. So thank you so much for this video. Take care. Bye-bye.